This is Julian with J Rambo's Garage. How did we get here? Um, First of all, before we get too long in the tooth, I have to, as I started out, because I'm highly excited, even though this video is probably not going to be the one that I really wanted to make. But as you can see, we're not in front of a car. We're having a discussion. But I have to, because some of you all have asked me, I have to let you all know that how we started off this channel with that Range Rover series is kind of back on track a little bit because I've got my older brother behind the camera. That first set was highly successful. Some of you have asked, how's he doing? Because I have mentioned that you lost your sight, brother.
Well, thanks.
But you have been asked about, and he's still on the mend. But thank God that he is back doing at least what I think he loves to do. So I have to start with that. And that's why I'm excited. But this is probably where it's going to go downhill. So
He's
before
trusting a blind man to shoot his video.
before no man, it's seriously, dude. I have had a few people ask, how you're doing. I've not shared any of
Thank
your
you all. I
personal.
appreciate that.
Say again.
I appreciate you guys.
Yeah.
Honestly, that means a
Um,
lot.
but so I didn't share any of your personal business, but I did let people know because I made the attempt to try to upload, and it just didn't turn out well. So
Stick to fixing cars.
yeah, I will. But that's kind of, it's funny you say that because that's part of, there's another ulterior motive to this video. I want to show people that I'm a completely different person when I don't have to worry about making videos, when I can do what I do best and someone else can do what they do best. All right. So, one, this is not going to be a 3 hour video. I promise that. But where we're going with this is from an enthusiast's perspective. So I'll end the intro portion here, and then we'll move on into why we're here, as my channel I think is quite appropriately named. I'm glad I kind of changed the name of the channel. So stay tuned. We'll get into why we're here from an enthusiast's perspective, and we'll see how the chips fall. If you recall from the Range Rover series, there's a specific part in there where I mentioned my desire and at that time, the pursuit of starting a used car business. Um, we're here because not only am I pretty handy with the tool, I think you guys can see that, but we're here because I'm also an enthusiast, always have been. So my passion doesn't just lend itself to fixing cars and trying to be educational. It's also beyond that. One, because I work in the industry, and two, we're here because of a very, very, very distasteful experience that I've had with Carvana. And I want to make sure that if nothing else, that there's awareness to my experience. This is certainly not about me trashing Carvana. This has nothing to do with me wanting you to boycott, you wanting or me wanting to tell you where to shop or where not to shop. I'm sharing an experience and you do with it what you will. So, what I want to do is I want to make sure that, because one, I don't think you guys have ever even seen me somewhat clean and together. But again, in the same manner that I was sharing with my brother as we were trying to figure out what direction we were going here, um, in the same manner that I'm hoping to get my message across in the DIYs, I'm hoping to get my message across here. So this is why I'm kind of in a button down. So one of the initial points of me making this video, as I thought about it over and over and over again, um, is going back to the Range Rover series, where in one of those parts, I made a specific what's the word I'm looking for? A conjecture, or I shared something that was very personal and passionate about this industry. And in fact, we're going to pull it up and play it now. Because he's doing things for real estate agents. Again, we're not really trying to, honestly, I don't know what we're trying to do. Who knows what this might become? I'm actually pursuing a used car dealer's license, and it may start out as a brokerage where I'm going to find the best cars I possibly can. Hopefully, some that just really need to be cleaned up. But as you can see, I'm pretty handy with the tool. We need to get them refurbished so that somebody is in a reliable car that the majority of these used car dealerships either don't have the time or quite honestly don't have the interest in doing, in putting people in quality used cars. There's very few of them. That mantra of the used car shady salesman and the shady dealership is out there, and it sickens me. I am truly passionate about auto power sports. If it has an engine, I'm all in. So who knows how that may pan out? There's a process that goes along with the state and getting the license. And we'll sit down. Now that we've done some recall, some 4 or 5, I can't even remember, but it's been more than 4 or 5 years. So what I want you to understand is this just didn't come from nowhere and me trying to stick it to Carvana. I wanted to play that so that everyone would at least be reminded of where my passion is, not only for DIY, but as a bigger umbrella. So my share is, again, it's informational, but it's also kind of the straw that broke the camel's back. Okay. And it's reignited this desire. And if you understand the story of Ford and Ferrari, or how Lamborghini came about, that's where we are right now. And that's why we're here. It's because of, again, an extremely downhill scenario as it relates to Carvana. And this is coming from an individual who either is on his fourth or fifth purchase, not to mention the countless numbers of vehicles that has also been corroborated. We'll get into that. Has sold countless number of vehicles for the business model. So I'm not only an enthusiast from working on vehicles, but even how they're purchased. And that clip should be a reminder of where my passion lies. All right. So right now, the only audience that I have are my subscribers. Okay. So I'm speaking directly to you all. Anyone else that sees the video, it's for everyone, right? But my subscribers is what I have. So the first thing I want you to understand is the connection that we all have. I can't possibly imagine that anyone out there has not purchased a new vehicle or a used vehicle. And in that process, I hope it went very well. I'm making the safe assumption, though, that it probably didn't. It's not a pleasant experience to purchase a vehicle. Okay. So the first thing I want you to understand and really focus on is the story. It's my experience. If you've shared the same experience, then we're already halfway there. But the second takeaway is taking charge. Somebody has to do something, okay? Whether it's new or used, somebody has to take the bull by the horn and take this industry on. And if not me, then who? So if you were to take that clip, and let's just try to keep that clip in mind as we continue to tell the story, I hope to persuade you. The third objective not really is a takeaway. Again, if you watched any of my videos, you understand I don't do the typical YouTube flow, like, subscribe, so forth, so on. Teasing. In this instance, it's probably going to seem like a teaser, but there's going to be a part 2 to this video, okay? So Um, if you can kind of maybe jump ahead into the assumptive process, the third takeaway is going to be the second video that I am still working on. I have to put my ducks in a row before I come back before you guys. But there is going to be an ask. Like I said, somebody has to take on this industry. And before I leave this earth, I am hoping that someone is willing to help me do something morally right and upstanding so that people again fit that model of being placed in quality used cars as best as I possibly can. Or let's start from where we started and how did we get here? Okay. We got here because, as it stands, as I've mentioned before, this purchase with Carvana would either be my fourth or fifth personally, okay? But as an advocate, I would just as soon talk about cars or things with motors all day if I could. Okay. So when I say that I've also sold many cars for Carvana, I've had complete conversations with strangers that somehow or another I got pulled into and wound up suggesting to them. The point is, I've now made a fourth or fifth purchase and this started with a communication to the CEO. Okay. So for the vehicles that I have I'm sorry, for the experiences that I have suggested of others to consider Carvana in their purchase process, normally you would get a, what's the word I'm looking for, brother? Not a stipend, but a reward, a referral, right? A referral fee. I've never asked anyone to do that. So the point that I'm making is based on where I am financially, I traded in a vehicle and I was looking for another. Um, Somewhere about the time frame of July is when I started my purchase. When I found the vehicle that I wanted, I reached out to the CEO of Carvana. I'll paraphrase. Good day, sir, so forth and so on. I've been a loyal customer. I've been a very or a staunch advocate. And not within 15 minutes of sending that email. Okay. So, one, don't ever count out the old adage of communicating in writing. It still holds weight, neither here nor there. Um, some 15 to 20 minutes later, I receive a communication from uh, a particular vice president. All right. Um, hey, Mr. Rambo, appreciate you reaching out. We saw that you communicated with the CEO. He put you in touch with me. Fast forward. Thank you for being a loyal customer. Thank you for being an advocate. Send me the VIN number of what you're interested in, and let's see what we can do. That turned into a specific concession to me. I will not disclose what that concession is. Okay. I'm not trying to give you the tools or the path of how to get discounts. Okay. Um, so I received a concession, picked a vehicle. This is where we're starting to go downhill now. Picked a vehicle that never, ever should have made it to the website to begin with. Okay. It never should have made it past their 150-point inspection because as I took delivery of the vehicle, one of the things that is part of my process, again, you do with it what you will, okay? But there's nothing, what's the word that I'm looking for? There's nothing dishonest about what I've done. It's just part of my process in dealing with Carvana because it fits the model. First of all, you have a 7-day return policy, but then you also have a 100-day, 4,000, whatever the mileage is. Okay. You have a 100-day warranty with the Silver Rock process. All right. So, one of the first things I always do is I always schedule an appointment, particularly with the OEM dealer network of the vehicle I purchased. All right. which is the same thing I've done here. And what I have here is, let me slow down. I made the appointment. However, being a car guy and a DIYer, clearly I'm knowledgeable of some things to look out for. The things that are put here, or the things that are listed here in this repair order, are things that I discovered within 10 minutes of me viewing this car the first daylight that I had. Okay. So to cut to the chase, I was I took possession of a vehicle that needs some $20,000 of repairs. Okay. Now, I'll give the benefit of the doubt because what I have here is a repair order from the dealership. And of course, dealers are always going to charge a little bit more, a lot more. But even if I did the work myself in ordering the parts, we're still talking well over $15,000 based on my time. Okay, because as I've told you guys before, you have to consider your time as well. Your time is valuable. Okay, so not only do we have the parts, but the labor that, so even if I did the work myself, we're still talking well over $15,000. Again, we're talking $19,184.95 worth of repair. Never, ever should have made it to the website to begin with. So that's the root cause. The root cause is Carvana's 150-point inspection is sketchy. Okay, I've got to be very careful about the words that I use. To move forward, I shared this information with this particular VP and never heard from her since. I was immediately contacted by an executive team member of Carvana to where the options were because they wanted to make a better experience for me. Now, keep in mind, I made the actual purchase, let's just say somewhere about August 18th. We can pull up particulars. Somewhere about August 18th. Brother, what's today's date? Is it September 26th?
26.
September 26th, and I have yet to receive my replacement vehicle. But as it relates to this vehicle that I chose, this particular executive team member suggested you can either keep the car and potentially go through the rigmarole with Silver Rock based on the estimate that you have and where the estimate was once they sent out uh, it's not that I don't want to call them the inspector. Um, it's their well, let's just call them their inspector. Once they sent their inspector out to visually put their eyes on the car, because how could we possibly have a car that needs $20,000 worth of repairs, right? So the inspector got involved, and that's when they came to the conclusion that, hey, how about we try to convince Mr. Rambo to just simply choose another car? Okay, you presented me with the options. How about we go with the latter? I will return the vehicle and pick another. All right. Now, since then, we have gone beyond downhill. This executive team essentially is nothing more than a kick the can down the road team because they are empowered to do nothing because they've done nothing. Keep in mind, I'm sharing my experience. Okay. Um, Not only have I've gone through two selections. I chose a selection where it's the pre-order. Okay, uh, that vehicle was chosen some 3 weeks ago. When I was told to return the vehicle, It was based on the direction of this executive team member stating, okay, if that's the vehicle you're interested in, based on what I'm seeing, we already had this particular pre order for what we consider to be as part of our process for 18 days. So if you choose this vehicle, it should become available any day now. Any day now. That vehicle is still not ready. So as I continue to keep the vehicle that I have now, okay, voicing my concerns, sending emails, again, what I don't want to drive this vehicle. I'm concerned about the mileage. I'm concerned about other sketchy things that may come up as a result of me keeping this vehicle. If you all want me to return the vehicle, let's work on getting it out of my hands first, and then we can worry about the exchange. However, I've chosen another vehicle. Okay. Um, September 26th. I still do not have possession of the vehicle. Uh, we have gone through borderline lies of them expressing to me that they had specifically returned the check that I had with my financing institution, where they, one, still haven't produced a tracking number for that check that they returned. Okay. I have since been presented a tracking number that was just mailed about 2 days ago. So do the math from whatever today's date is. I also have to qualify for another loan. So keep this in mind as far as this 7-day return policy. Okay. It seems simple on the website, but it's not simple at all when it comes to the actual process. Okay. Specifically, if you are financing with your own established financial, if you're financing with your own bank or third party, let's put it that way. If you go through their financing, I don't know what you're going to experience. I don't know if you're going to experience what I've experienced. It's simply, again, it's a share, and it's been a nightmare. So not only do I have a vehicle that needs some $20,000 worth of repair, I chose another vehicle that obviously was not part of the process that I was told to do. Then we have this one that I'm still, this has been going on for almost a month and a half now. The CEO has gone completely cold. When I was singing accolades, no problem communicating. This VP has gone completely cold. I'm dealing with an ineffectual executive team that has done absolutely nothing. And again, whether it's online or in person, if you've experienced anything close to this, this is the straw that has broken my back. This isn't about contacting lawyers and so forth and so on. This is about action. And again, if I don't at least make the attempt, nobody's going to. If somebody were going to, it would have been done by now. Things are the way that they are because two things: people either care too much or they don't care at all. Let's try to end. I can't possibly give you everything that I'm feeling right now, but if you can understand the sheer, not disappointment, betrayal, that's where I am right now. It's as if I walked in on my mate cheating on me. That's how bad and horrible I feel right now, not just for me, but for all of us. Because in no way, shape, form, or fashion are we never going to find ourselves not purchasing a vehicle.
So, I mean, what exactly is it that a consumer should do? What is your best advice to them based upon your experience?
So that's a good question. All right. And first of all, I can't help but to be a bit emotional, right? Because I am emotional. But I'm not emotional from the perspective of I feel like I'm being taken advantage of. The fact of the matter is, I just want to make sure that we recap, okay? Because I'm going to answer your question as best as I possibly can. I want to make sure that we recap with, again, one, I'm sharing my experience, okay? I don't want you to take this and, oh, he's telling me not to buy from Carvana. I'm not telling you to do that at all. I am simply trying to make sure that you're aware, okay, um, as far as the purchase and then the return policy, and then as it relates to how you've financed, okay? Again, I'm speaking to an experience where I brought in my own financing. Now, this is not an instance of where I'm trying to educate you for stuff that you don't see. Okay. Again, I'm being a bit cryptic because I'm working behind the scenes. In some ways, I have an affinity for any dealer network, but I also have major issues with the industry and how they treat people. So the first thing you need to do is be aware of what's posted on the website. All right. I have no issues with the return policy. Okay. Unfortunately, the way that we're going about this return policy and how this has gone completely downhill from a communication that started with the head honcho himself. Okay. So, first of all, I don't have a problem with the 7-day return policy. I am still within that process. Okay. It's just a bit of a special treatment. So once I take possession of this return, this is my first return. Okay. I think they allow you three. You either live with it or you find something else. So as it relates to the Carvana experience, you need to understand that I'm being honored my 7-day return policy. What you need to be aware of is what's going to happen if you've used your own institution to finance. It is not comprehensive. It is far from convenient. And quite honestly, with the amount of effort that we've put into going back and forth, they should have just as soon fixed the damn car to begin with.
Well, the question I'll have for you on that then is that end of the day, if I have financing with a company, do I have the option of calling and stopping payment or telling them they're not
No,
abiding according to
no,
contract?
because that's not the issue. The issue has nothing to do with um, uh, a contract, a breach of contract. This is just piss poor customer service, flat out. And to be honest with you, again, if you've already started with the head honcho and that particular individual has gone dark, what else is there to do?
So you feel that you have given Carvana an administrative opportunity to resolve the issue before you make this video.
This could, yes, absolutely. And quite honestly, and I am far from a finance guy, okay? But this all could have been avoided had they just simply owned up to their mistake. So, as I mentioned, there was a concession given to me, okay? I'm not going to share what that concession was. We could have easily had a discussion of, Mr. Rambo, hey, we dropped the ball completely. How about we take a step back? Okay. Let's forget about the concession because this has nothing to do with that. Make sense? All right. We could have easily picked up on, I would have been fine had they said, you know what? The 7-day return policy only applies to vehicles that are ready for sale. Okay. As opposed to the pre order process. You can go online right now, put in filters, and Towards the bottom, you're going to start seeing vehicles that are they're not labeled that way, but they're pre-order, meaning that they're coming soon. They're going through a reconditioning process. Be wary. So we could have easily gone our separate ways. Again, had they owned up to the fact that this vehicle never should have made it to the website to begin with. I chose another vehicle. Had it been within a reasonable difference, they should have just eaten it so that I could have gone to my bank with the new VIN number and we could have done an exchange. It's a change of collateral, dollar for dollar. No money's taken. We're going to change this VIN for this VIN. I would have gotten the car inspected. Hopefully, it would have met my standard, would have met Silver Rock standard if it needed repairs, and we could have gone our merry way. We're essentially squabbling over a few $1,000s that wasn't too far off the concession that I was given to begin with. Yet here we are from the time I made the actual purchase to date, and I still don't have a vehicle.
If you were a Carvana salesperson, if you were a person who had,
Just so we're clear, Carvana advocate. There are different forms of advocates, but it's a Carvana advocate.
If you were a Carvana advocate, or well, let's just leave it at that. If you were a Carvana advocate, how would you have handled the situation differently?
Exactly the way it's being handled now. Lip service. They're empowered to do nothing.
So you were pretty adamant about being a advocate for people who buy used cars.
Right.
If you were that used car advocate, how would you have handled this situation differently to satisfy the consumer?
Well, first of all, um, it's funny you asked that. I don't think you even knew I was mechanically inclined ever in our lives.
No, I didn't.
So, one, we're not scripting this at all. You can only take my word for it. But I'll ask you a question. When's the last time you looked at that Range Rover series? And if it hasn't been recently, that's fine.
I've been half blind for about
Okay,
a year and a
enough,
half. So I've been watching nothing.
I never asked you. As you were editing that, and I wish we could have worked together on editing, what did you think of that Range Rover series?
I thought it was very well put together, not bragging in terms of my video skills. It was the person actually taking the time to explain. And that's what makes a quality product, particularly if you know what you're doing and being an advocate for the people that you were demonstrating this to. So that's the way I felt about the video.
I'm asking that because, again, the only thing I can give you guys is myself. Okay. And you can hear a smile over the phone. Not only am I hoping to convey that sort of mentality, and I'm hoping to convey that aura, that energy, but we also have the video. It's as if I'm looking you right in the eyes. I can't lie to you guys, and I'm not going to. In my desire to start a pre-owned sales of used vehicles, first of all, unequivocally, I'm just going to go flat out and say it. Yeah, it's a hypothetical. But this vehicle never would have made it by my inspection process to begin with. At all. Why? Because most of what's here, I discovered.
So you're saying essentially that if you had not been a trained eye, the average consumer would have gotten
hosed. Because this is my opinion. The average consumer that purchases from Carvana probably doesn't even know that they should or can take their vehicle for an inspection. Not only you should. So if anything, I'm giving you advice that is not out. It is nothing nefarious about it. If you purchase a vehicle specifically from Carvana, the first thing you should do is go get it inspected. If it comes out of your pocket, I'm not going to give a price, but just as an example, the average dealership is probably going to charge you a couple $100. I understand that, hey, I don't have the couple $100, but whether you have it or not, the first thing you should do is get the car inspected. That should determine your 7 day thought process on whether or not you're going to keep the car. So the average person would have gotten completely hosed. If I were to take you back to the house and we were to check the suspension in the rear, I could get the vehicle to bounce. And we're talking about a close to 6,000 pound full size SUV. That's how bad the suspension is.
That this is going.
Of the many things that are wrong with it. So one, it never would have made it past my inspection process to begin with. Number two, had it been inspected and reconditioned and things were still wrong with it, you didn't source the car, I did. Make sense?
Well, I would think of it as, from my law enforcement experience,
Okay.
that if a vehicle was in disrepair, regardless of who was driving it, there is a safety responsibility for who was operating the car. They should have known.
You know what?
And this is my take is that there should have been the same concept of safety responsibility of whoever did the so-called point inspection, and it was, you got $20,000 worth of repairs that need to be done to a car that's going through a safety checkpoint,
let's
and
let,
those
let's
things.
let,
Go ahead.
let's not call it a safety check. Let's just call it an inspection process. Okay. And
Well, let me say it this way:
okay.
before that car hits the road off of that lot, there should be some safety responsibility attributed to
Well,
a company that otherwise did not do the due diligence of the processes that they
well, so
advertise.
now we're talking ideology. All right. And this is where I drastically depart from the industry standard. So let's keep in mind, ultimately, and hopefully you'll understand that I'm still being reasonable. Okay. So in giving the benefit of the doubt, we're still talking about a used car. Okay. And the industry standard typically is you buy it, you own it. I don't have to do anything to a vehicle. New cars, different. We're not talking about new cars. We're talking about the used car market. So it's buyer beware. Okay. This is where, and again, we have to be careful. Okay. But in my experience with this online model, this is what at one point had me sold not only as a repeat customer, but also as an advocate. Okay. So the fact that they offer the 7 day return policy and the fact that they offer the 100-day, 4,000, whatever the mileage is, sets at one point set them apart for a pro of why you should purchase from them, or at least consider purchasing from them. But ultimately, we're talking about used cars. They're not obligated to do anything, and that's where I depart. Had I given you something quality to begin with, we wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be making this video. People wouldn't be getting screwed every day. It shouldn't take 4 hours to purchase a car if you were to go into a brick and mortar. You should have, again, relative confidence and assurance and a platform to, one, be treated as a valued customer. Number two, relational over transaction. And that's, at least my opinion, one of the major problems that drives where we are today, whether you're purchasing a new vehicle or a used vehicle. Ultimately, they don't give a crap about you. You are a transaction, you are not a relationship. So to answer your question, had we been in this situation that I am in right now, the fact of the matter is you didn't source the vehicle. You didn't put up a vehicle that needs $1,000 of repairs. I didn't call my bank. Everything that's happening right now is all from one perspective. All I did was choose a car. Okay. So the fact of the matter is, I would have tucked my tail, tried to save a relationship that started with a communication to the CEO as purporting myself to be a staunch advocate as well as a repeat customer. I would want to keep that relationship going. So I would have tucked my tail, so to speak, right? But you got to eat the crow. I need to make this right. Mr. Rambo, Charles, you don't worry about anything. The only thing you need to send to me is the car that you want to exchange with at our request to return this vehicle.
So essentially, it just sounds like the repairs cost more than what you actually paid for the car.
Half. Half of what the vehicle is valued at per a specific uh, dealer, or not dealer, per a specific consumer valuation. Um, the repairs, giving the benefit of the doubt, again, we have dealership pricing here, doesn't matter. But based on this document, the repairs are half of what the vehicle is appraised at.
So now that you have shared your story that translate to your subscribers and many people across the globe who may be going through the same thing, what takeaway value do you want them?
So, and again, I probably haven't done the best job, right, in trying to walk a fine line of, you know, not calling out and potentially causing, myself some litigious situation. Um, but this is the straw that's broken the camel's back. Okay. And so to, again, just reference what I said some 4, 5, 6 years ago on where I was at that point of pursuing the license to retail used cars. I am absolutely beyond fed up. I'm beyond fed up. And um, again, if I just sit on my laurels and do nothing, well, I'm part of the problem. I work in this industry. Doesn't mean that I'm an expert, but I understand how factories and dealerships relate to one another. Okay. And that transitions over into the used car business. That one, just so that I say it, uh, manufacturers, I think, turn a blind eye to the used car market. I don't think they fully understand or appreciate how a used vehicle can affect their new car sales. It's, I mean, I almost let the cat out of the bag. You're a tricky little videographer. Here's where we're going with this. As car people, if you know the story of Ford versus Ferrari, if you know the story of how Lamborghini came about, let's just hit it real quick. This has nothing to do with me seeking out attorneys and so forth and so on. Carvana is simply the symptom as it relates to my desire. The root cause is the industry itself and sleazy used car salespeople. Okay. So Lamborghini was a tractor farmer. He was a farmer, made tractors. He made enough money to purchase to purchase his first luxury exotic vehicle. Went to Ferrari, purchased a Ferrari. Okay. I'm probably telling the story a bit out of context, but this is the gist of it. He got the car home, and after driving it, you know what? This car's a piece of crap. In an Italian sort of think of, this car's a piece of crap. You know what? Let me call up Enzo. Hey, Enzo, I think this car would be better if you did X, Y, and Z. I'm sorry, Mr. Farmer. You farm, you don't make cars. Oh, okay. It's that sort of situation? No problem. I'm not just going to join the party, I'm coming to take over the party. And that's how Lamborghini was born. Mr. Lamborghini didn't like the product that he had and simply just asked for a few suggestions to be taken into place. You know what? Screw you, Mr. Farmer Guy. So fine. You don't want to build me a car? I'll make my own. Ford versus Ferrari. Ferrari, in its inception, is race oriented, as many manufacturers are. Okay, if you think about the inception of the vehicle, well, people were excited about speed and this new contraption, right? So most manufacturers have DNA in racing. Ferrari is specifically, just like Porsche is, just like Maserati, okay? Ferrari is specifically inspired by racing. Ford connected with Enzo. Hey, how about we look into some sort of acquisition? We purchase Ferrari. The gist of the story is Ferrari was fine with it, but he wanted to be the head of the racing team. Now we're talking about, what, 40s, 50s, somewhere back at where Le Mans was deeply ingrained. Everyone knew about Le Mans. It was kind of like the Super Bowl. Okay, so I'm kind of talking to you because this is what I missed about not having you videoing videography without having you videoing me. Um, that purchase was predicated on Ferrari's desire to be the head of Ford Racing. Ford was not having it. We will purchase the company. We'll find a place for you, but it's not going to be the head of Ferrari. And so Ferrari, at the 11th hour, pulled out of the deal. Really? Okay. Now, by then, Ferrari was kicking butt at Le Mans year after year after year after year. So not only are we going to join the party, we're going to come and take over the party. You don't know where it came from. But this is where the GT40 was born. And the GT40 won Le Mans, I forget the years, back to back, and not only back to back, but in succession, where each car came in first, second, and third. So the process here is I'm not looking for revenge. I'm not even I'll get through this process, okay? I'll find another vehicle. At some point, this will work out. But you've lit the fire. Absolutely. You've lit the fire, but I can't do it by myself. I can't do it. So the second part of this video is going to lead into what I'm attempting to do. Okay. I can't divulge that right now because I'm still working on the plan so that the next time I come in front of you guys, it's comprehensive, but it's also heartfelt and you understand why I'm doing. I am driven at this point. I am driven. So it's not just a desire to start a pre-owned company. I'm attempting to take the industry head on with morals, with principle, and doing the right thing, just harkening back to my military, doing the right thing even when no one's looking.
So essentially, what I have heard from you throughout this whole video is you're not speaking from a pain point of the process that you went through. You're speaking from the wisdom that it taught you that you're now sharing with your subscriber who regard your wisdom.
No, absolutely. Um, and I know sometimes you have words better than I do, but to say what I said earlier, uh, things are the way they are because people either care too much or they don't care at all. Okay. And as of right now, I am of the former. Okay. And you guys, again, you know, I don't normally do this. You've never seen it in any of my videos, but this is one where I need your help. I need your help considerably. So, yes, I'm asking you to like, I'm asking you to subscribe, I'm asking you to comment. Please try to keep your comments, if they come in the form of a question, as relevant as you possibly can. I'm still not going to put anything out in public that might cross a legal line. Maybe we can exchange some sort of emails, okay? And I'll be glad to share something a little bit more detailed. I'll still watch my process, but this is one of these instances where I need your help into getting this message out such that the second video that's coming makes even more sense.